Hi Facebook community first. Welcome to the recording of the 4th ever GPS training podcast. I don't know if you've sat through the live stream before, is we are recording it onto the computer. So we're going to try and do it as the podcast is going to run. What we'll do is we make a mess of any stories, we'll go back to the start of that story. So please excuse that. Just before we start, Andy, do you want to just lock that door?
Stop anyone.
We're just looking at the door.
There's point one.
There's point number one.
We're locked, you can't leave now.
That's it. Okay, so here we go then. So yeah, hope you enjoy watching it. And then what we'll do, if there's any questions, we may jump onto them at the end. So it depends how the podcast goes. We're hoping to be half an hour, 3/4 of an hour. And then if there's any questions on Facebook at the end, we've got time, we'll open up Facebook and answer any of those questions. But hopefully, yeah, you'll see it. Also, we'll edit it for YouTube as well. So again, the live stream we'll edit on YouTube over the weekend, and that should appear on our website over the weekend. So we'll start recording the podcast and enjoy it Facebook Live, people. Welcome everybody to the 4th ever GPS training podcast. On today's podcast, we've got myself, John, and we've got Andy from GPS Training.
Hello.
And we've got Henry, who's also from GPS Training and Shepherd's Walks Holidays.
Good morning.
So I'm one of the managing directors of Shepherd's Walks Limited, which is the parent company of GPS Training. And Andy is who are you, Andy?
I'm our technical support. You call me the geek, but I know you say it in a nice way. But no, I do all the technical support in the office on the software and the GPS devices, as well as selling GPS devices.
And I'll introduce Henry, because actually Henry's not going to say what I believe he should be saying. He's multi-talented, aren't you, Henry? That's what you are.
Apparently so.
Because he works quite across many aspects of our business. He's one of our trainers for GPS training. He delivers the courses in Fife, is it?
Fife Lakes, Northumberland and Sherwood Forest.
Fantastic. And he's also one of our walking guides for Shepherd's Walks Holidays, which is our walking holiday company. So really we've brought him in because we're going to look at some of the products today, and we're going to get Henry's slant on a professional guide, what he thinks and how he's used these out in the field. So that's why we've got Henry in today. So as usual, we're streaming it live on Facebook. So again, if you don't like our page on Facebook, please go along and like our Facebook. Just search for GPS Training on Facebook and like our page. We're also going to put a copy of the live stream on YouTube at the end, and you'll be able to watch that from our website. So without further ado, let's get on with today's podcast. What we're going to look at in the podcast today, we're going to look at the Garmin inReach, which is a two-way satellite communicator from Garmin. We've also got a question about mapping. We're looking at topo mapping and topo active mapping. This is a question that came in from one of the listeners of the podcast. So we're going to look at topo mapping and topo active mapping and describe what the difference is. We're then, because we're coming up to Christmas since our December podcast, we're going to look at the offers for December here at GPS Training, which is the Oregon 700 and the eTrex Touch 25, both Garmin GPS units. We've got our top tips from Andy, our Satmap and Garmin top tips, and then we're going to also look at the video top tips. Something we've started in the last 6 or 7 weeks is the video top tips, which we'll find in our online resource. We're going to look at those and explain to you guys what they are. Looking at Satmap Active 20, we're going to look at the back-to replacement options for that unit. And then big debate, because it's December, we're going to look at what would we all want for Christmas, both GPS unit and what accessory would we like to wake up to on Christmas Day. And then finally, we're going to look at some of the courses and other training experiences we have at GPS Training in the rest of December and also January. So the first thing we're going to look at and review in today's podcast is the Garmin inReach. For the people watching us live on Facebook, I'm going to hold up the Garmin inReach, which is the Garmin two-way communicator. So then I'm going to ask Andy initially, can you give us a brief summary of the inReach, Andy, what it does and how it works, and how it's different than a normal Garmin GPS device?
Yeah, so the inReach products that we sell, as John said, they're a two-way satellite communicator. So like you hear people in many parts of the world, if they haven't got a mobile phone signal, they'll use a satellite phone, which uses the satellite system. This unit uses what we call the Iridium satellite system, has 100% coverage of the Earth's surface. It's the only two-way communicator to have that 100% coverage. I will come back to some countries that we've got to be careful with.
And this is the same satellites that a sat phone uses, isn't it?
Yeah, the military systems often use this as well. So what we mean by a two-way communicator, when you're out and about with this device, if you're somewhere off the beaten track where you've got no mobile signal, you've got peace of mind that you can send text messages to friends and family. They can get it on their mobile phone or as an email with information about where you are. A simple text message as we would text from a phone saying, how are you doing? Everything's okay. I'm about to climb whatever mountain you're about to climb, which could be in a country where you've got no mobile signal. So it's that peace of mind knowing that when you're off the grid, you haven't got a mobile phone signal, you don't need a mobile phone signal to communicate with the device.
And you send text messages, and you can send these preset text messages, can't you? All alternative, you can physically type in a text message.
Yeah, so it's got before you go, the idea of the unit is using the planning software for the unit. You can put in a load of preset messages. It could be at the end of the day just telling your friends and family that everything's okay and you're safe. So you send that message every day at the end of an evening. So you can have all these preset ones, as well as you simply typing in a message and sending it to your friends and family.
And it also, people can see it tracks where you are as well, doesn't it? So it's just a track point which people can see live.
Yeah, so the big thing, again, when you're walking with this device, it's recording track points as you walk. And you can, before you go on a trip, you send your friends and family a link to that trip you're about to do. And at any time, just using the internet, they can log in. And the setting we normally use every 10 minutes, it pings out a point of where you are. Again, using the satellite system, so no mobile phone needed. And your friends and family can pinpoint you on a map of where you are. They can see you as you move across whatever country you're in.
And the other thing with that map as well, people can send messages to you, can't they? So if you give people access to this map, because it's a private map, people can actually type in a message and send you a device. So if you're out trekking for many days in the Himalayas or something like that, people can actually send you messages via this.
Yeah. So what happens is when you log in to this URL internet address that you've been given by the person who's using the inReach unit, you can set it so that that person can send you messages to see how you're doing. You can't, I mean, there's some nice settings in the system where if you wanted just to broadly be sent out to many people to show you where you are, you can password protect it as well, so that only people with a password can log in, and you can't stop people sending you messages if you don't want people to send you a message. So it's got quite a bit of flexibility. But the most important thing is with this inReach device, that your friends and family, when you're away from mobile phone signal, they can see where you are, and you've got the peace of mind that you can send them messages as well.
And the key thing as well is it has on the side an SOS button, doesn't it? Thankfully, you can't accidentally press it. It's got a little bit of flap on. When you lift it up, there's a big black button with SOS, and you press that. What happens when you press the SOS button?
So when you press that SOS button, it goes to a worldwide monitoring station. It's called GEOS. It's an independent emergency organisation, and the headquarters in America, Houston, Texas. And basically, they'll get that message from your device that if you've pressed the SOS button, they're assuming you're in difficulty and you need the emergency services to come out and help you in whatever country you're in. What's nice with the unit, unlike some other devices on the market, when you send this message, rather than you sitting there thinking, has someone got this message, they actually reply back to you. Because you've registered the unit with who you are, your emergency contacts and your information, they'll send you a message back. If it was myself, it would be, Andy, we've got this message off you, is everything okay? Now, if you're in a state where you can't manage the text back, they're not going to then ignore the fact you've sent that message. You'll then see messages coming through telling you that the emergency services in whatever country you're in are on the way and how far away they are from you. Something I was going to mention earlier, I talked about the 100% coverage. So it's got this 100% coverage if you've got a view of the sky to send messages, but please bear in mind if you're in a country that's having a civil war, at war, situations like that, there is a list of countries on Garmin's website where, yes, someone can still see where you are, but you're not going to necessarily get emergency services come out and rescue you. So you've got to have that little bit of knowledge that there's certain countries where you're probably not going to be in anyway, hopefully, but otherwise, you know, you're going to get that help on its way to you if you've had an accident or something's happened.
And it looks and feels like a GPS Map 64S. It looks very similar to that. So does it replace this GPS Map 64S? Does it replace a standalone Garmin navigational GPS device?
I mean, personally, I prefer, for actual navigation, planning routes, all the things we're used to on a normal GPS, I still find a standard handheld GPS more user-friendly. I mean, it is, you know, the fact that the unit does have maps on it. If you buy the Explorer Plus, which has maps built in, so you're going to see yourself move across a map. It will give you a longitude and latitude and a few other formats of grid reference, so you can see mapping on the screen. But I still personally feel a designated GPS for planning your routes and navigation, you're using this as an emergency two-way communicator for that peace of mind when you're off the beaten track.
And you've already said about these contracts, so it's like a bit like a mobile phone contract. I mean, you set up a contract to work with these. So what kind of price are these contracts then?
Yep, so with the unit, because you're using this, someone's got to pay obviously for this GEOS Worldwide Monitoring Centre. It's not a free service, so you do have various contracts with the unit. Now the basic contracts start from $12.99 a month, but what we find is the package that we tend to use at GPS training when we use the devices is £25 a month. But that gives you peace of mind of a number of texts that you're allowed to send. Obviously unlimited SOS button presses. Hopefully you shouldn't need unlimited SOS button presses, but you know there's never going to be an issue if you need to use the SOS button. But a nice feature actually of these the monthly contract, you can sign up for a year and then you pay every month. That works out a little bit cheaper, but it's a little bit more a month, but you can't just pick a month where you're going somewhere, sign up for that month, have it for that month with a peace of mind, and then it ends after that month, and then you can start it again another month. So you do have that a bit of flexibility. And I think the best thing when you're on our website, if you look under the GPS store in the inReach devices, under frequently asked questions and answers, we list the tariffs and what you have to pay for these subscriptions.
And this is our unit here. This is our unit that we use in Shepherd's Walks Holidays, and we paid the contract was about £25 a month, and that gives us 10-minute track points. It gives us, I think, 40 text messages, unlimited preset. It also, of course, the SOS on any package. So we kind of think about £25, because the main thing I seem to think is this track point, where if you're on a cheaper package, which is one of these £12, £13 packages, you have to pay per track point. I think you pay about 10 pence per track point. So we went for the more expensive package, and actually I may add that I actually paid for this. So sadly Garmin didn't give us a free package to try. So we thought it was that good. We invest our own money into it, and we pay that £25 a month, and it works really, really well. Key thing as well, which again we'll talk about a little bit later when we talk to Henry about his use of it, is it's got fantastic battery life, and like I said, we'll come back to that. So as overall, we think it's a really nice product. But there's other products in the marketplace. So before everybody starts emailing, there are other two-way there are other two-way satellite communicators, but there's other tracking devices in the marketplace. And the main one of that is the Spot. The Spot has been around with us for a number of years now. The Spot, I think, comes in just over £100, £119.99. And we also use the Spot in Shepherd's Walks Holidays. It's very different than the inReach, because it's actually a one-way. It's more of it's a tracking device, isn't it, Andy? So the Spot you put onto yourself and you can track where you are, isn't it? That's right.
So with the Spot device, people can see where you are. They can log in the same as the inReach. You can't send, so you can send messages by pressing a button. You can't, there have to be preset messages. You don't have a keyboard, you don't have a screen, so you can't type in individual messages. There have to be preset messages, and there's certain buttons that send those preset messages. But when you send those messages, you don't get a notification back on a screen to say how you're doing, we've got your message. So it is a cheaper unit. It's someone who just wants that peace of mind, I suppose, where they're not needing to do the two-way communication, they're not wanting to chat when they're off the grid. It's really just people can see where you are, and you've got that button you can press in emergency, the same as the inReach.
Yes.
We don't have quite the same coverage though, I know, with the Spot. It hasn't got, they don't say 100% coverage of the Earth's surface.
It uses different satellites, does it? It uses a lower orbit satellite. I can't remember which one it is. So it's the Iridium for the inReach, but the Spot uses a lower satellite, so it's not 100% coverage around the world, is it? I think that's the difference. And therefore it's a little bit cheaper, where it's £17.99 a month, or it's about €17.99, I think it is, rather than pounds. So it's a little bit cheaper, but you don't get that two-way communication with it. The big thing I think with the Spot, so we use the Spot in Shepherd's Walks Holidays for solo walkers. So if you rang us up a few years ago with Shepherd's Walks Holidays and said, I want to come on a walking holiday with you, I'm on my own, we wouldn't accept you onto that holiday. But what we've started doing over recent years is saying, yeah, we will do it as long as you have a Spot with you, which therefore gives you the communication just in case you get yourself into problems. But the real key thing about the Spot is it's lightweight. It's quite a small device. It's got an absolutely stunning battery life on it. It's like 28 days or something like this. And the reason for that is it only gets a satellite signal when it's going to send a signal. So every 10 minutes, if this device looks for a satellite signal, gets its location, and then we'll send that up to the satellites, and that comes back down to Earth. So we end up with this absolutely stunning battery life. So I know the Mountain Rescue in Northumberland, they're using the Spot, because again, they can just give it to people, they press a button, they don't need much training on it, and it's a very different device. Well, it does a similar thing for tracking, but I think for the two-way, where you don't get that two-way
communication. You don't get the two-way where you can see the messages coming back.
Yeah, but it still uses the same SOS centre, doesn't it, Andy?
Yeah, so you've still got a monitoring centre where if you did have to press the SOS button, you know that someone's on its way. I suppose it's just the fact you don't get the message to say we're on the way, how are you doing, which we do like in the inReach, that you get that message through, but it still does the job at the end of the day.
And with the Spot, it's not a navigator at all, is it? So it's just a pure tracker.
There's no screen on it, no maps with it, it's purely just that emergency press the button when needed.
And it just sits on a bit of Velcro, strap it, put it on top of your rucksack. You've got a little carabiner clip, just to clip on, just in case that falls off. And it's just straightforward. You just press a button at the start of the day, and it just keeps going all day long. So again, if you want another product as well as your navigational GPS device, so people can track you in that emergency or SOS, a Spot's worth considering for that, isn't it? Okay, so that's the other product within this marketplace, with this Spot, as well as the Garmin inReach that we're already discussing. So look, moving back to the Garmin inReach, we've discussed this at length already. There's two models. There's the inReach SE, which is, we've got SE Plus, sorry, which we've got 399, and the inReach Explorer Plus, which is 42999. So then, Andy, what's the main difference between these two units?
It is purely the mapping. The unit that's 42999, the Explorer Plus, has mapping preloaded on it. It's topographical mapping, originally done by a company called Delorme that Garmin took over to take this product on. They marketed the product for many years, really well-known company. It's great mapping. You can get mapping for all over the world for free. It comes loaded. If you buy it from this country, you get all of Europe loaded on it, and there's a few extra African continents loaded on it as well. Again, you can get that information from our website under the questions and answers, but you can download mapping for any country. And this topographical mapping that does have contour lines, land-made, man-made features. It's a nice map, actually. So there's not a lot of difference in the price. We've got the inReach Explorer Plus reduced a little bit at the moment to the 4299, so it makes that a bargain considering you're getting worldwide mapping with it. If you didn't want mapping and you really wanted it just for that emergency communication, the model, the SE Plus at 399, that's the only difference. It's a black and white screen. You can still record a track recording that you can track back on a line, still get grid references, that sort of information. Everything the same as the Explorer Plus, you just don't have the colour screen with the mapping. That's the difference.
So keep going back to this. Is actually our inReach that we've got with us. It's got a backpack tether on it. You hear the Velcro backpack tether. So I attach this onto all our GPSs at the business, because otherwise people will lose them. So they can give it to the guides, they strap it onto the rucksack, and they use them. So Henry's one of our guys from Shepherd's Wharf Holidays, as well as working for GPS training. So he's been using this really for the last year. Henry, you do it on a number of walks over to Holy Island, and you do our 3 peaks in 3 days, and you've also done our St Cuthbert's Way as well. So the story I'm really going to bring in is how we use this when you're on 3 peaks in 3 days. Do you want to tell the story, or do you want me to tell the story?
That's why I'm here, isn't it?
Let me tell the story. The
well,
customer.
Yes. Normally we have a group of people and they stay pretty much together. We try and keep them together. But this day we had one that wanted to walk on her own at the back of the group, which I told her wasn't, legally that shouldn't happen, but she insisted. So we tried to keep an eye on her. So the third day we were going up Ingleborough and it was really foggy. And I kept trying to keep her in touch, and I don't really know what happened. She just, I don't know if she went astray, but she seemed to get way behind the group. As we got to the top, I said to the group, look, I'll go back. You can pretty much only see about, 10, 20 yards if you're looking in front of you. And anyone that's been up Ingleborough on a misty day will know what I'm talking about. Excuse me. So I started to go back down the hill, and somehow she passed me. So I got to a point where I waited, but I didn't realise at the time, but the inReach, that's tracking everywhere I go.
That's right, and it's quite flat on the top of Ingleborough. So this is Ingleborough in the Yorkshire Dales, the third day, the 3 peaks in 3 days walking holiday. It's, as you, if anybody's been up there, I always think, what's the brief encounter of the third kind? It's always that flat mountain, that's what I always think it looks like. So as you hit the top, you follow some cairns as you go across, or some stone cairns, but actually there's loads of different routes and there's not just one path.
No,
I
you
think
could-
this is why I think that's why you managed to miss each other in the mist. Isn't
Well,
it,
my
really?
concern was when you get to the top, you literally turn 90 degrees, don't you, to go to the centre. But in that weather, you could keep going and miss the top
Exactly right.
and
Yeah.
go past it. And that was my concern. But somehow, I don't know how she passed me. But I'd got to a point where I thought, well, I'll wait here, she'll come and get me eventually. And then I got a call. So, she got to the top, but I'd passed the group at the top as well. And the group that came across some other people that had met her. And they said, oh, we've passed this woman that's with your group. And they said, where is she? And I went, oh, she's going down the other side. So she was already past me and past the group.
Right.
At which point they rang the office, and the office rang me. And then, you know, I tracked back. But the office could see where I was, which was the beauty of the inReach.
Yeah, I think
And
that's
should I needed to, in emergency, there's not a telephone signal, as we've discussed already, you can send a message and you would have got that. But you would have seen there was something up because
We
you would have
could
thought,
see
well,
that.
he's going, why is he going back? So
Yeah.
you would immediately known there was
yeah.
something.
It's the situation really in the office. It was a Tuesday, well, lunchtime, just after lunchtime. World's nice and peaceful. Henry's out in the Yorkdales. We've got other groups out. We've got loads of people out. Suddenly the telephone goes onto our emergency emergency telephone went for our Shepherd's Wars holidays. Hi, with a group, the top of Ingleborough. Henry's not with us. He's gone back to look for somebody. That walker has arrived with us. Okay, right. So what do? We got the inReach. We could bring up the inReach software. We could see where Henry is in total relation to the summit. And via the inReach, because he was out of mobile phones here, we could communicate with him via the inReach. So we sent a message saying, your walker's at the top, get yourself back up to the summit. And that was brilliant. So actually, a situation that could have potentially turned into quite a problematic situation was saved by this Garmin inReach, because we could see where Henry is, we could see where he was in relation to the summit, and we could get him back up to the summit to get the group who potentially would be getting cold and getting them back off the top. I may add at Ingleborough where you left them, there is a big stone cross, isn't there? So I think they were well sheltered.
It was a pretty miserable day, and they didn't want to hang around, and them waiting as well sort of slightly disrupts the group as well.
Mhm. So the nice thing is as well, again, how long are you getting a couple of days battery life like that when you're out?
Oh, easy. It's never run out on me.
So you've been, I think when you've been away for 3 days walking, you've just used it for all 3 days walking.
Yeah. I mean, you can charge it every night if you want to, but there's no real need.
And the thing is as well, we can send you messages, you've sent us messages, there's these preset messages that we've set up as like our preset messages, everything's okay, this I am, or things are potentially getting, problems are potentially happening, I don't need help, or I'm potentially, this is getting into a bad situation. Those are the 3 presets that we've set up. And actually when you press a preset, you select which preset that you want to send. And I think that it's quite a nice way to navigate around, because I think the text on the screen's quite small. I know I wear reading glasses. Are you okay typing it or not?
It is a little small because I wear contact lenses as well. So, but it's easy to use because it comes up and says, "Do you want to do this?"
Yeah.
So it's a case of yes, I want to do it. Start tracking, and then it starts, and that's it. Just keeps tracking all day, and then if you want to get your messages, you simply go back to the menu and select. Yeah, it's like a mobile phone. Really.
It is, and also for us, it keeps us tracking of where the guides are and this kind of thing. And we've used it for our Hayden's Ward trips. We've used it for all our guided trips, and we give it to our guides. And the training, another first time Henry was given this, he was actually going out to Holy Island with a group and walking across the Pilgrim's route. Comes in the office on Friday morning. Henry, take this inReach with you. What do I do with this? And literally, I'm going to say 3, 4, 5 minutes of just showing, that makes total sense, doesn't it? And by the time you were finished doing that group, you were texting us back and messaging us and this kind of thing. So it was easy for you to pick up.
It's user friendly. It's not, you don't need to be technically orientated, do you?
The actual using the unit and the actual setting up of the unit, you do for online. You hadn't done the setting up, but when a customer buys a unit from us, we put in that big guide that talks you through how you set up the unit and create your account. So that's already been done. And as you found, it's so user friendly when you're out there with it.
It is, yeah.
And I think a product like that has to be user friendly, because it's not something you're going to use every day. You are going to use the tracking, but actually when you hit an emergency situation, something goes wrong. You've never done this before. You might have not used this messaging for a number of months. It needs to be very, very straightforward. Otherwise, you're going to go, I can't remember how to use this.
Well, if it's going to save your life, which you can do, it needs to be easy to use.
And I see that. So I've given it to a number of guides, and not one guide's come back and went, I can't work this. No, every guide, literally, no training. We're actually giving a guide a GPS unit. Often you need to spend a bit of time just talking through how to use that. So overall, what are your thoughts on it, Andy? What do you think the future is for it? And do you think...
Well, at the end of the day, I think it can save lives. We've got stories all over the world where it has saved lives. People can see where you are. You can communicate easily, get messages back anywhere in the world again. It's that two-way communication. We normally think about it being used on land. You've got to remember sea.
Yeah.
People doing, these treks across the ocean in yachts
We've got a guy at the moment, haven't we? Who's in
that's what's made me think. We've got a
Atlantic.
gentleman who's sailing the Atlantic using an inReach, so his friends and family can see where he is at any time. So when we say 100% coverage, we're not just talking about land, we're talking about sea as well.
Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, it can be a lifesaver. And the unit having maps on, you have got some functionality of navigation with it, the same as we would with a standard handheld GPS, so no, a lifesaver.
Do you feel more confident using walking or leading a group with that, Henry, or not?
I think it's a must as well. I mean, you know, I'm relatively new to this world, aren't I? I've only been doing this about a year, and I wouldn't have used a GPS before, and I think they're a must. So both of them, because especially if you're with a group of people, because if something does go wrong, like a day like that, and you don't know it's going to happen, because the weather comes in, you know, quite quickly, I would say it's a must, because at least you've got the SOS facility, haven't you? And you know someone's going to be there for you.
Yeah.
Whereas with a GPS unit, they're great and they will save your life as well, but you've got to be able to use it and get yourself back.
Exactly.
Whereas the inReach, someone can come and get you. And also someone can see where you are all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So we do that. When we've got groups out, we do keep an eye on where they are, whether they're using the spotter as a solo walk or the inReach, we'll keep an eye. Because again, for us, if we're still in the office at 5 o'clock and we still see that a group's still got a 4 or 5 miles to go, actually, we'll often contact the guys, everything okay? Why aren't you at your accommodation? And therefore, it gives us that peace of mind. It's often simple, oh, it's a lovely day, we're not rushing, that's not a problem. So for us, it helps us keep an eye on what's going on.
You could save someone else. You could save someone else's life. You could come across someone on a mountaintop. It has happened before, where they're not. Often you have to say, I'm going to walk down the hillside and get a mobile phone signal. You know, you find someone else who's in distress. You know, you can use it again to summon help for that person. So many.
And also these things, if you're a solo walk, you spend a lot of time walking on your own. To be honest, it is a must, really, isn't it? This kind of thing is actually, it is a lifesaver, because you're going to be places where there is no mobile phone signal. Like, this is rugged, 100% waterproof. You know, you can strap it on your rucksack. You can use it when it's frosty, it's raining, it's whatever. Fantastic battery life. So I think as a solo walker, or you've got a wife who walks around, it's certainly worth looking at this and potentially incorporate, as well as if you lead groups. So overall, we like the inReach so much so that we actually bought one ourselves and we use it within the business. So I keep going back to, we did pay the money for it and we pay the subscription for it. So we're not just like, oh yeah, this is fantastic. So Garmin, if you want to let us have a free one, we're more than welcome to take it. But we thought it was so much value, we've paid for that ourselves. So overall, we like the inReach. If you want to find more about it, go to gpstraining.co.uk, click on GPS store, and then on the left hand side you'll see a category that says GPS units, Garmin inReach satellite communicator. You'll see some video reviews there, you'll see what the unit looks like, and you'll see the different contracts available for it. The next thing on the podcast today we're going to look at is topo mapping. We're revisiting this because we had a great question from one of our podcast listeners. He said, I'm now slightly confused about topo mapping. When I bought my 62SC ages ago, there was a 62ST options with topo mapping. I had the impression at the time that this was a sort of open source mapping. Has this mapping now been dropped by Garmin, and now the word is topo OS, saying OS mapping, topo active, and no cover. So on an older unit, Andy, the T meant something slightly different, didn't it?
Yeah, so Garmin still do some units with the older mapping. So basically in the past, if you bought something like a 62T or a GPS map 62 SCT with a T at the end, the Montana, they used to do it in the Montana range. There was the Oregon 600s that we no longer do. And I think I've said them all there, the Montana. So there was the map 62s and 64s, the Montanas, and the Oregon 600 series, the older series, had a T at the end. What that T meant was that it came with Garmin's recreational European topographical mapping. So it was mapping covering all of Europe, 1 to 100 scale. Not the most detailed, but I'll be honest, it was a nice map to have in the background if you did a lot of travelling and you didn't know where you were going to be from 1 month to the next, and rather than keep buying maps, you had something in the background rather than a very basic base map. It was a lot more detailed than a basic base map, but just 1 to 100k scale.
Does that have trails and tracks on it, or
paths? It does have some on it. Again, it's 1 to 100 scale. It's not the most detailed, but it did have features on. Topographical means land-made, man-made features, contour lines. It didn't have any routable data. We're so used to GPS devices now, certainly for road data, where even though it's designed really as a a walking device. Cyclists use the multi-activity devices we do, and they're used to routing on the roads like a car sat nav. It didn't have any of that sort of data in, so it wasn't a second choice for not having a car sat nav when you were in Europe. You couldn't route on the roads. It was purely see yourself move across the map. Now this mapping is still available. It's still the map that Garmin supplies on 2 units. So if you buy, these are 2 current models, so if you buy the 64 ST, which has replaced the 62, that still has the European recreational mapping on it. We stock the 64 ST in our shop. And also the Montana, the newer version of Montana, the 680T, that has that European recreational mapping. So it's not that it's totally been ditched, it's still available on a couple of units.
But then the new generation ones, the 700, 750, 750T, isn't it? And the touch is a difference.
So just to clarify this, so the older units that had a T reference, that was this recreational mapping I've talked about. In the current range, it's the 64 ST and the Montana 680T. So I'll now move on to the new generation units. So the new generation of units in the Oregon series, we have the 750T. They don't do the 700 with a T at the end. So we have the 750T, and we also have the compact touchscreen eTrex touches, a 25T and a 35T. So this is 3 units, eTrex touch 25T, 35T and Oregon 750T. Now the T now denotes that it's a different type of mapping. It's called Garmin Topo Active Europe. It covers 46 European countries, so Western and Eastern Europe. Different style to the old recreational mapping. They don't give it a scaling like we had 1 to 100, 1 to 50, etc. It's not taken off a paper map. As you zoom in, you see more information. As you zoom out, you see less. It doesn't have contour lines on it, but it does have height data built in. So if you're using one of these touchscreen devices, if you move, you can get a little drawn pin on the screen, and as you move that across the screen, you'll see the height data in a box with height of where you are. It's very much, to me, it's a map that's brilliant for cyclists. If you're on your holidays, on your travels, and you're visiting Europe, any European country, great for walking around those towns and villages. In this country, walking around towns and villages instead of using the US mapping, if you're doing that sort of walking. And it does have major trails, and I know things like I had a lady doing the Camino de Santiago in northern Spain. Those major trails are marked on it. It's not the same detail as an OS map, but to get that mapping for 46 European countries, and the last bit, the bit of the way they describe it, it's called Topo Active. What does active mean? It means it's got active routing in it, so you can route on it like we're used to in a car sat nav. You can't say take me from A to B on the roads, and it'll snap a route on the roads and give you turn by turn arrows on the screen. If the footpath you want to go on is marked on the map, you can't actually get it to route you on the footpath with turn by turn as well. That's what they mean by active routing. That's why they've called it Topo Active.
Right, okay. So that clarifies the difference between the old T and now the Topo Active mapping. So thank you very much for clarifying that, and I hope that all makes sense. Next thing we're going to look at is our Christmas GPS offers. We've got 1 week to go. We're recording this on Friday lunchtime. We've got 1 week to go before the last postage date before Christmas. And Garmin came to us at the start of the year and said, what do we want as your Q4 promotion, they call it, which is actually only the last 2 months now, but they still call it Q4 promotion. So we opted for, as a business, I think the best, 2 of the best units currently on the market, which are the Oregon 700 and the eTrex Touch 25. So eTrex 700 should be £499.99 for the next week or two. Is, well, let's see how we sell out before Christmas. We've got it reduced to £39999 with 1 to 50,000 mapping, and the eTrex Touch 25 should be £329.99. It's reduced to £249.99. So, Andy, just 2 minutes on each of those units and the main differences between each of those units.
So these Christmas offers have been flying out the door, understandably. The Oregon 700 is one of my favourite units. It's a 3-inch Gorilla Glass screen, very tough screen, touch screen, sunlight readable. It's IPX7 weatherproof rated, so very high weather rating, be used outside all day, no problems. Simply powered from 2 AA batteries. Comes, the one we've got on offer at $399.99, that comes with a full GB 1 to 50 Ordnance Survey map card. I see so many people online selling these products where they make the customer think they're getting OS mapping with it, and they're not. It's either a subscription to an app, or it's just they say worldwide base map, which is a very basic map.
It's a very political way,
Yeah.
correct way
Please,
to say it, Andy.
yeah, it's just, you know, you want it with OS map, and then that's what you get with ours. £399. It actually includes the OS map card in the unit.
That's right.
Maps you can view on the unit. It's the equivalent to 203 Land Ranger maps.
And that map card's worth £200 a
On its
standalone
own, yeah.
product, isn't it?
So nice screen, 3-inch screen. It's got all the different. It's what we call a multi-activity unit, the Oregon 700. So it's not just for the walker. You can use it for cycling, geocaching. It's got live geocaching when it's paired with your phone, so you can pair it with your phone. It's got a barometric altimeter for more accurate height data. Bluetooth function again, so you can pair with some of the additional accessories that Garmin do. So it's really it's a top end unit, to be honest. Favoured unit by myself. So that's the Oregon 700, reduced to $399.99. We do also have it available with full 1 to 25k mapping. Got two versions, $599 and $649. Two options of 1 to 25 mapping. Lots of information on my website about that.
Brilliant.
So the Touch 25, so it's like the smaller brother or sister of this unit. Touchscreen unit again, 2.6-inch colour screen, so slightly smaller screen. So the Touch 25 reduced from $329 to $249.99. Now remember again, this has got full Ordnance Survey 1 to 50k mapping with it. A map card that's worth £200 on its own, and a unit that's only costing you £249.99. This one again has been flying out the doors. Equivalent to 203 Land Ranger maps on the unit. It's got a nice tough screen. It's not the Gorilla Glass screen, but it's still an anti-scratch screen, sunlight readable, powered by two AA batteries. Has an electronic compass the same as the Oregon 700, so it will, when you're stationary, orientate the way you're heading, whether the unit's held flat or upright. So both the units have the electronic compass. What you don't get with a touch unit, you haven't got the barometric altimeter for the extra height data, the more accurate height data, and you haven't got any of these Bluetooth functions for pairing with the phone, for adding on the accessories or the live geocaching. Still use it, still brilliant for geocaching. It's still a multi-activity unit, so it's set up for cycling, hiking, geocaching. So still a great unit, just with some lesser features and that slightly smaller screen.
Brilliant, brilliant. So there's some really, I think, two good offers, and well, I think the way they've been flying out the door. Thankfully, we got some stock, and we had some problems a week or two of stock.
So many going out.
We were selling many tens of them for every day, and I think we've thankfully done this right this Christmas. We've chosen two great units. We feel very confident selling them. Like they are good ones, and whether you're buying them for a present for someone or buying one for yourself, they are good discounts. We can't offer these discounts ourselves. We've had to team up with Garmin because we don't make the money that we've discounted on these GPS units. So if you can afford it, please do take up the offer, because I say it won't be back at that price. We won't for the foreseeable future as well, unless something happens in the marketplace. So those are two offers for this Christmas with the Oregon 700, each extra's 25, and again most of them come with 1 to 50,000, but the Oregon 700 we can do with 1 to 25,000 map as well, isn't it? Okay, next thing is the top tips, both Satmap and Garmin top tips. Andy, as usual, is going to give us our top tips. You're going to go with the Garmin one first, Andy?
Yeah, we'll do the Garmin. Both the tips, I'm going down the same avenue today. It's about battery life, because we're at that time of year, colder temperatures, and as we all know, cold temperatures can affect batteries in your unit. So if I start with the Garmin GPS devices, so things like the Oregon, the inReach Touch, Map 64, they take two AA batteries. So to get the best out of your batteries in the winter, we would always recommend don't use alkaline batteries. I'd always recommend if you're using throwaway batteries, you use lithium batteries. If you're not using throwaway batteries, and we all want to be a bit greener, use rechargeable batteries. The best ones for cold temperatures are something like the Panasonic inReach batteries. They perform more like a lithium battery. They will work down to -20.
Tell us the price of those first.
They do, the inReach Pro, we sell an inReach Pro charger for £55 with four batteries.
Not too bad.
That comes with 4 batteries. But if you're wanting the best out, out of your rechargeable batteries, I'm going to give you some tips. If you're not using the inReach ones, which will work better in colder temperatures, good quality rechargeables, at least 2,300 milliamp hours capacity. And then there's a few tips that you can do in the unit to get the best out of it. So they're the main batteries that we tend to use. Now, in all of the Garmin units, a lot of customers do sometimes miss this just from the sort of calls I get on the support desk. In every Garmin unit, you've got an option called Setup and System. So when you go into your main settings, which is the little spanner symbol on your unit, and you've got an option called System, if you've put your own AA batteries in, you'll have a menu that says battery type. And a lot of time that doesn't get changed by customers. So if you've been using rechargeable batteries and decide, winter's coming, I'm going to put some lithium batteries in, you do need to go into the unit and go into that setting under system and battery type and change it to say I'm using lithium.
Why do we need to change that battery type then?
All batteries have a slightly different voltage, and the screen itself is looking for that voltage, or the compass itself reacts to the different voltages.
Right, yeah.
So if you don't change the voltage, so if you've been using rechargeable batteries, which is normally the NIMH setting, or if you're using the pre-charged like the Eneloop, the NIMH pre-charged, if you suddenly put lithium batteries in and don't change the setting, it's looking for a different voltage, and you'll find things like screen freezes, or battery life will just go down really quick when it shouldn't be. So that's the main thing, change the battery type. The other thing you can look at on your Garmin units, all Garmin units have a backlight setting, which normally we have about halfway. So on all the Garmin units, you've either got the option with things like the older generation MAP 64s, eTrex 20s and 30s, you touch the power button on the side and you get a little bar that you slide up or down. So make sure your backlight's not too high. On the eTrex touches, you press the power button once and you've got a little arc at the top of the screen where you move the backlight down. And finally on the new sort of Oregon 700 range, you swipe down from the bottom of any screen and you can put your backlight setting down. The other thing you can do in setup and display on all the Garmin units, you've got a backlight timeout setting, so you can reduce that. And you've also got a function called battery save, which when you put battery save on, the screen will actually go off when your backlight timeout settings went, but the unit's still actually on recording where you walk, and then you just touch the power button to bring the screen back on. And I think the final one I would mention, I mean, there's a lot of little things there you can do to save battery, more to do with backlight timeout and time. A lot of customers don't realise this. When you leave the unit on the map page, it uses more battery than any other screen because you've got the colour maps scrolling the whole time. So my tip is when you're finished with the map page, move it off the map page to another screen and leave it on another screen while you're walking.
Makes sense actually. If it's drawing the map all the time, it's going to use up a lot of battery life. I know I do off-road cycling and that, and like I found that very quickly. If you're cycling all day long, it's drawing that map all the time. It completely, not say destroys your battery life, but you're lucky you get 6 or 7 hours out of it. Where if you're on the compass page navigating a route or a track, actually the battery life is now 10, 11 hours.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you can, I mean, there's a few other extra things that Garmin put forward that do work. We don't tend to find, once you've done all those other things I've said that you need to do, on the map page itself, we normally set the map page and settings, the orientation, so the map's always pointing the way you're heading.
Yeah.
It's what we call track up.
Yeah.
If in settings you go to map, setup and map, and orientation, if you actually change the map page to north up, it uses a little bit less battery. Right. It's not my favourite one because I love the map and track up. I like the unit, the fact that we've got the 3-axis compass. I want the unit to point the way I'm heading when I'm walking, but you could put the map into just north up. Brilliant. So that's on the Garmin units.
Okay, and Satmap? So
on the Satmap units, it's similar things really for, you know, you've got backlight setting on your Satmap units. So if you've got the Active 12 or Active 20, you can go into setup, and in the power settings, you can adjust your backlight. Now the Satmap units have a backlight boost button on the side. On the Active 20, it's the very top left-hand button, and on the Active 12, it's the very top right-hand button. What I tend to do is, that backlight button, I have it really low. I have it on one of the lowest settings, because when you actually go into the advanced power control settings on the Satmap unit, you can actually adjust the unit to say when you touch any of the buttons that the backlight comes on for a certain amount of time. So you don't really need it up high all the time, because what you do is when you touch the screen on the new Active 20 or press a button, the backlight will then boost anyway. So I'd recommend have the backlight permanently quite low, and then go into your setup, power control and advanced settings and put the backlight boost to be quite low, so it maybe comes on for 20 seconds. So that's one thing you can do on the Satmap. Also on the Satmap, you can actually put the unit in, the same as the Garmin, you could put the map in north up, that saves battery. And the final one I'll mention on the Satmap, in advanced power settings, they do have an option called power save mode, and it has an advanced setting in there. So on the Satmap unit, the Active 12 and Active 20, if you go into your settings, advanced power, you'll see one called power save mode. If you adjust that power save mode to the advanced one, it doesn't send out, it only gets a satellite signal every, I think it's every 4 seconds instead of every second, and that'll save battery. But when you're in that advanced power mode, the map will always be in north up. It doesn't allow the map to go and track up, but it will help save battery.
Right, brilliant. So there's some good top tips. while we're just talking about these top tips, I thought the other thing we could mention quickly in the podcast is we've started over the last 6-7 weeks doing these video top tips. So if you ever get our newsletter, we know we used to be doing text top tips in the bottom, but over the last 6-7 weeks we've started doing these as video top tips. So if you have access to our online resource, so if you go to our website gpstraining.co.uk, click on online resource at the top, you can log into the online resource, and again if you select Garmin units there, or Satmap, you see Garmin top tips at the bottom, Satmap top tips, and this is what we've been working on over the last 5 or 6 weeks, and we reintroduce them every week. So some of the things that we've just been looking at is on the Satmap, changing map page data box fields, hibernate mode, reverse a route on the Satmap Active 20, etc, etc. On the Garmin, we've been, the one that's just been uploaded yesterday was hiding preloaded geocaching, setting the map page for track up to north up, which Andy was just talking about there, securing a micro SD card, using the round routing option for the Oregon with Topo Pro mapping, and this kind of thing. So if you do like the top tips we're talking about in the podcast, go to our online resource. You go to gpstraining.co.uk, click on online resource, and the top bar you'll see online resource. You can log in there, and you can see these top tip videos there. If you bought a unit from us, you get free access for 1 year to the online resource, or alternative is £25 a year. But again, it's something we're updating all the time, so it's hopefully well, it is worth the £25 a year. I'm going to categorically tell you that. Next thing we're going to look at is a Satmap Active 20. We're going back to Satmap, replacement of battery options. So I know the Satmap Active 20 comes with this massive 500 mAh LiPo battery, Andy, but a number of people have been inquiring about with backup battery and other options. There's another 2 options, isn't there, for a replacement or a battery?
So the Active 20, it's a 5,000 milliamp hour battery with the Active 20 that you get, so that gives you a really big life. But what you can do, a couple of options that Satmap now do for the Active 20, of course you can buy a spare battery, so you could charge one battery up in the unit, take it out, put another battery in, charge it up, so you've always got a spare battery. And the spare batteries are £40, but a cheaper option, we stock under the Satmap accessories something called the AA emergency battery pack, and what that does is you slide out the LiPo battery and you replace it with this battery pack, but it does require 3 AA batteries. They're not supplied with it, so you make sure, obviously you take that out with you, you've got 3 AA batteries. Now we do recommend not alkaline batteries or even rechargeable. Get a set of something like the lithium batteries. We tend to recommend Energizer Ultimate, so you make sure you've got 3 lithium batteries in there, and you slide this emergency battery pack in. It's only £20 for the emergency battery pack, but an important thing, anyone who's using that emergency battery pack, you do need to go back into the settings on your Satmap GPS. So you go into settings and advanced power control, and normally the battery type there will be set as LiPo, which is the built-in battery. You've got to remember to change that to say you're using AA lithium when you do put the emergency battery pack in. It's the same, I mean, actually, on the old Active 12, that had a little battery cradle with 3 batteries, and the same setting in there, you had to go into advanced power and make sure you change it to say you're using 3 AA lithium, and then change it back to the LiPo battery when you put the LiPo battery back in.
Right, okay. So those are 2 options. We've got the replacement battery, which is £40, or there's this AA battery pack, isn't there, for £20 off Satmap. Or we buy it from ourselves, not from Satmap directly.
We stock them. We've got plenty in stock.
We've got the plenty in stock. The big debate this month is if you're going to wake up on Christmas morning, you can have any outdoor GPS units under the Christmas tree, and there's no money sitting on this, so guys, think as big as you want to. Which one would it be? And if you're not getting a new GPS for Christmas and you can have one GPS accessory on Christmas morning, what accessory would that be? Because Henry's been quiet for the last 10-15 minutes, and we'll give him first bite of the 10. Henry, if you can have one GPS unit on Christmas Day with any mapping and accessory, what would you want to wake up to?
I'd take an Oregon 750.
Oregon 750 with what mapping?
With backpack. Oh, with what mapping? Sorry. I think the 1-50 is good enough personally. But some people like more detail, and it's personal choice. But I think for guiding, and that 1-50 gives you enough detail.
Oregon 750 likes his camera as well. And your accessory, what accessory would you like to wake up to?
I'd take a backpack tether, definitely.
Backpack tether. So we do the sound effect on the backpack tether as well. So one of the few things we can do as well. There you are, the backpack tether working. That's actually on the inReach. So the backpack tether, you can attach your rucksack to your, so you attach your GPS to your rucksack strap. It's got a bit of a cord on as well. So again, if it accidentally falls off, it doesn't fall to the ground. And it's a really nice, because your GPS got a clear view of the skies, and it's one of our most popular accessories. So
And it doesn't dangle like it does with a carabiner.
Yeah, so it holds it fixed in places. So Henry would have a Oregon 750, Garmin Oregon 750 with a backpack tether. Andy.
I'm copying Henry.
Oh, I thought you were going for that.
No, slightly different. You know, you've heard me on podcasts previously. I do a lot of walking and hiking, but I also do a lot of road cycling as well. And I always like the idea of one unit for one job. So within the Garmin range, definitely the Oregon 700 series. Now we talked about different mapping, the European T mapping earlier. Because I cycle a lot, I love that topo active mapping. I don't do a lot of travelling abroad, to be honest, but for this country, I like using that mapping when I'm cycling rather than the US mapping. So me personally, it would be the 750T. But I'm like Henry, the 1 to 50 map, and I'm happy with. I like it. Sometimes I can find not too much detail on the screen. I like using a Land Ranger map. So it'd be the 750T, the Land Ranger mapping for me walking, but I'd get the T version because I've got that European mapping, which even just for using in this country, I prefer for the cycling.
And your accessory?
The accessory would be the cycle mount because I can't put it on my bike without it. So if I didn't already own one, I would need the cycle mount as well.
I think it's worth saying that the 750 is the one with the camera, and the reason I went for that is because the camera geotags. When you take a photo with geotags, you have photos, so it gives it a good reference immediately, so you know where that is.
And it overlays it on the map as well, doesn't it?
That's why I think the
Garmin basic cameras, 750 and 750T. God, I wish I could wader from that, but actually I'm gonna go for the 700 or 750. I'll go for the 700, which will increase battery life by not having a camera. However, the 700. But as people have listened to podcasts in the past, you know, I'm quite mean, and I wouldn't personally buy the Topo Great Britain Pro mapping myself, which is the 125,000 rootable mapping within the national park. But if money was no object, I would have that under Christmas tree. So I'd have a 700, Oregon 700, and with the 125,000 Topo Pro mapping, which I know is the mapping alone is the £349.99 product. So actually I've spent quite a lot of money there. But money's no object, so I buy an Oregon 700, or how would I have an Oregon 700 with the Topo Pro. And as my accessories, I'm going to wave. I do love the backpack tether these guys all chose, but I'm going to go for the temp sensor again. If you're on Facebook, you can see I'm holding up the temp sensor. This is a wireless temperature sensor, and you can pop this in your rucksack or something like this, and it tells you the temperature, doesn't it?
Yeah, normally it's got you can tie it onto the outside of like a zip or something. Yeah. I've seen people with it on their bootlaces before, and it'll give you you can change one of the data fields on the Oregon 700 GPS or 750 GPS to show what the temperature is, so you know if it's getting a bit cold, I think I need to go back home or into the pub for a drink.
Exactly right, and with the cold temperatures we've had in the last few weeks, I thought it'd be quite good. I'm quite excited, looking forward to Christmas, getting out, getting plenty of miles under my belt, and it'd be quite nice to climb to the top of the summits and see actually how cold it is and report back. So again, you could some nice pictures you could put a post on social network of how cold it actually is.
I've got a customer who deals with us quite a bit said what he uses the temp sensor for. He sits in his conservatory with his Oregon 700 and just outside his conservatory, because he's got a little bit of range with the Bluetooth. He has the temp sensor sitting to decide what the temperature's like. He sticks it outside, waits 20 minutes or so for the temperature to settle down, sees what the temperature is, and decides whether he's going out for a walk or not.
Fantastic. So that's the big debate, a bit of a seasonal one. What would we have for it? Satmap, I'm going to quickly jump onto Satmap. Accessories for Satmap for Christmas. So again, if you were getting a Satmap and that was your chosen one from the Christmas tree, it'd be Active 20. I think there'd be no doubt in that. I think we would be silly to have anything else. But there's some really nice accessories, aren't there, for the Active 20?
Yeah, so the Satmap Active 20, which was very much our walkers unit with a large high-resolution screen, what they've done with the new Active 20, they've brought in a range of quad lock accessories which clip onto the back of the unit, really nice and secure. There's a couple of different bike mounts, so if you're a cyclist, it tends to get used more by the mountain bikers, the Satmap Active 20. You've got the two quad lock bike accessories that we do. There's a nice belt clip as well. I've had a few customers order the belt clip, and I've had some nice feedback on the belt clip. So I think the quad lock accessories would be one of the ones to go for.
Those quad lock accessories are unbelievable, you know, because they do it for smartphones and all sorts of things. No, these are like, and again, the bike bracket. I know we don't really recommend the Active 20 for bikes, but it's got a nice bike bracket that sits out.
I think for mountain bikers like that big screen with a high-res screen. So the Active 20 for mountain biking with that quad lock accessory, it's a good accessory.
And they're well proven, those accessories, those quad lock accessories. So again, we've got those in stock. So if you fancy looking at our website, look at the Satmap accessory in our store, and you'll see all the quad lock accessories there. So have a look at that. As we're drawing to the end of the podcast, we're going to have a quick look at the courses we have coming up at GPS Trail. I'm not going to go through all the courses because we've got no courses until January now. But just to flag up a couple of new course locations for 2018, we've got EM in the Peak District, so that's a new course in February of next year. So first time we've been in the Peak District, and that's at the Youth Hostel there. And at Great Cransley in Northamptonshire, I think that's February or March, we've got that next year. And Ian, who does our South of England course, he's coming to Northamptonshire, and he's doing those courses. And these new courses will complement our current 2-day course that we do in Cotswolds, Five Lakes, New Forest, Northumberland, Sherwood and the South Downs. The webinars, which again, I don't know if people know, these live seminars we do, which are live seminars we do in the evening, teaching how to use GPS unit. Again, we've got a bit of a break, but we start again in January. Once everybody's got their Christmas presents, they'll be logging on and wanting to learn how to use them. So we'll be starting those webinars again in January. Again, if you buy a GPS unit from us, you get the webinars for free. Alternatively, they're £19.99. So if you want to know more about our GPS training courses, visit GPS Training, click on GPS Training Courses on the top menu bar. To finish off our 4th podcast, many thanks again for listening and to what we've been talking about in the podcast. If you are looking for a GPS unit for Christmas, don't forget our last posted date is the 22nd. I think it was a Friday before Christmas. If we do post out on that Friday, it will be before lunchtime. So order before lunchtime, and we can specify a Saturday delivery, and it'll arrive before 1 o'clock that Saturday. So if you all want a unit before Christmas, please do get in touch. Please do tell your friends again about the podcast and GPS training. So if you're enjoying the podcast, let your friends know about it. If you're into walking groups and other such things, let them know about what we're doing here at GPS Training. And if you bought a GPS unit from us over the last 12 months, or alternatively on one of our GPS training courses, you'll be getting our GPS training brochure, which will be arriving between Christmas and New Year. It's been dispatched on the 27th of December, and you get a little package through the door, and it'll have all our course dates in there, little articles and other such things. So again, if you've got that to look forward to if you bought your GPS unit from us. All our 2018 courses are on the website, so you can have a look at what dates coming up. And I'm not just saying this, the courses in January get absolute, with that mail shot going out, they get so busy, and therefore we do get people in January go, oh, I can't find a course that's free till May. That's sadly because you were too late doing this. So if you all want to go on a course, do book yourself on nice and early. And don't forget, you can watch a recording of this podcast on our YouTube channel, which is GPS Training UK. And finally, don't forget, you can subscribe and rate our podcast. Really appreciate if you subscribe, especially on iTunes, and rate it, because it does help our ranking go up through the podcast channel. So, many thanks for Andy and Henry for joining me for this our last GPS Training podcast for 2017. Have a great Christmas and a happy New Year. Get out there, get a few miles under your belt this Christmas. I know I'm going to do so. Our final podcast of the year. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you again in the new year. Thank you.
Keep trying to find a satellite signal.
1 hour. So if there's any questions on Facebook. Hi Facebook people, hope you're still there. I don't know how many people are. We'll log into Facebook and see if anybody's got any questions or any comments. Just be patient, because I've got to open my browser up, because my old laptop creaks at the thought of it. All right, guys, enjoy that?
Yeah, good. That's good.
Very good. 1 hour.
Quick, actually, doesn't it?
1 hour.
No?
Lots to talk about.
Lots to talk about.
I'm so interested. See, I learned a bit of stuff there, because about that inReaches.
So you learn things on the podcast.
Learn every day.
There we are. Oh. No, there's no comments. Peter's give us a thumbs up. Thank you, Peter, for that. It's very much appreciated. So yeah, a few people have been watching, which is good. There's 2 of you still online, so hi guys. I hope you've enjoyed it. So that's it. So have a good weekend. Our newsletter will be going out in 17 minutes time, so it goes out at 11:45 every Friday. So we're going to run into the other office, throw down a bit of lunch down our throats, and get ready for the onslaught after the newsletters we push on to the end of the week. So thanks very much for watching us on Facebook, and we look forward to seeing you again in the new year. Cheers.
Thank you.